channel where lessons lead to sound impressions. Class is now in session. I want to talk about a topic that I believe is not really discussed too much. It's not really taught too much. And I think that topic is care and maintenance. Now, people may say, oh, what's the big deal? It's just a bass. Or you can put any instrument in there. Well, the problem with that is it's very costly to not properly maintain an instrument, and particularly the double bass. And that's because of its size, but I'm going to get into that a little later. Basically, the double bass is a big child, big baby, so you have to really take care of it. All right, so let's get started, shall we? So, care and maintenance. Handling an instrument. And this is particularly picking it up and putting it down. Let me demonstrate for you. So, I'm going to demonstrate how to properly pick up a double bass, or at least how I do it. And I'm going to show you something else that is actually on the instrument to help it, help protect it from the floor, okay? So I put one hand here, okay? I put one hand here, and I put one hand here. Now, some people just pick the instrument and they just slide it, okay? Not a good thing. Not a good thing to do, okay? So, one hand here, one hand here, okay? So you're basically grabbing the base of the neck, okay? And what you're doing is you're basically bringing these two forces together. You pick the instrument up, I say vertically, so there's no slide. There's no slide, okay? Now, to put the instrument down, you still grab it in the same places. You still grab it in the same places. And you put it down again, vertically. Okay? That's how you do it. Okay, now I want to show you something else on the instrument that I actually had installed. If you see these leather bumpers, I have these installed just to keep from the floor touching my instrument. It elevates the instrument just enough. It's vital, those vital millimeters. You can't tell on this side of the instrument that it lays on the floor. These bumpers take all the brunt. And they don't have to really work that hard, because once again, when I lay this very expensive, extremely old instrument down on the floor, and I should also mention slowly, okay, and get your footing, should go down vertically, okay? So that's how you do it. That's how you save your instrument, okay? Now, you just saw me demonstrate how to pick up an instrument, how to put it down, and you also saw the bumpers, the protective bumpers that are on the instrument. Okay, so that's very important, very important. The next thing that has to do with care and maintenance is avoiding sharp, rough, wet surfaces on your clothes and on the floor. Now, many of us like to wear watches, such as I do. Cufflinks, studs, other jewelry, things like that that can easily scratch an instrument. And I'm going to talk about that a little later on too. I would say take those off, or if you're going to wear them, be really careful about where they are. Okay? So you should be really, really careful. Even cement and rough surfaces on the floor. Be very careful. Be very careful. The next thing that I like to talk about is strong and even light impacts to the instrument. Again, let me talk about cufflinks. When we vibrato, especially double basses, cellos as well, when we vibrato, we could have the cufflinks bang on the shoulder of the instrument. So now what I do, I might wear just a button cufflink or something soft, okay? I don't want the instrument to be damaged, but I also don't want to not add expression to my music, okay? The next thing I want to talk about as far as impacts are concerned is going through doorways and up and down staircases. Very, very detrimental to the instrument's life. So when you're going through doorways, be very careful, because once again, these are big babies. So you really have to be careful, I suggest, okay? The next thing, I think it's very important, and a lot of people kind of take this for granted, but I think you should have a really nice, thick case for your instrument. There are different cases out there for the double bass, and so I think you should invest in a nice case to protect your investment, okay, and at least to preserve the instrument for the generation after you, okay? Now, let's get into something else that I kind of touched on a little bit. It is scratches and seams and cracks and things like that. I've heard this complaint by students at the college that I teach at. Oh, my instrument is not good, it's cheap, and it doesn't sound good, and it doesn't look good. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. I'll give you a little pro tip. Okay, so yes, I understand that if you have a cheap instrument or an inexpensive instrument, because I like to be positive here. You may not have the kind of pride that you would normally have if you had let's say a wonderful instrument. So here's some things you can do, okay? First of all, get these scratches polished, okay? So that they disappear or they become a part of the patina of the instrument, okay? They become part of the instrument. They become a nice character, look for the wood, okay? Get that polished, okay? Get it stained, okay? You can do that at your local luthier. The next thing, which I think is very, very important as well, get seams and cracks glued up. This is one of the reasons why the instrument doesn't sound good, okay? All this sound is escaping through these areas that are not supposed to be there, okay? Get them sewn up. You also prevent this work I call buzzing. There's no buzzing when these seams and cracks are open. You avoid all of that. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so now you begin to, your instrument's all sewn up, patched up, whatever you want to call it. And now you have a good-looking instrument that can actually sound good. One other thing I forgot to mention when you go to your luthier, you always want to inspect the work before you leave the shop, okay? Something that I do, a little pro tip. I actually take video of my instrument before I hand it off to them. Okay? I mean, I can't play games with this. Okay? It's a very expensive instrument, very old instrument. And so I actually take video, especially of the areas that I want to have worked on, and I keep that video. It tells them that you're serious. Okay? It tells them that you're serious, and you don't want anybody just taking advantage of you. Okay? It's a wonderful pro tip. I've heard too many horror stories of people going to the shops and getting their instruments fixed. Then they leave the shop without checking the work, and some of the work actually wasn't done, but you paid for it. So always check your work, take video. It lets them know that you're serious, and it leans accountability on their end. Okay. Now I'm going to appeal to the younger players, or the players who are in their, let's say, 50s, 60s, who are beginning to take up this instrument. Okay, I just want to appeal to you. I mean, of course, everyone is listening, so you can stay if you want. Here's some things to help you take even more pride in your instrument. Cleaning your strings in your fingerboard. Now, I know, women and men too, and not all women, and not all men. They like to use lotions and creams that keep their hands, moist and unashy like mine. I don't care, because I'm not looking to be a hand model. But if you put these things on, you'll have to have different rags to clean off your instrument. Okay, I use one rag to clean off the fingerboard. Okay, because fingerprints can get on there, and if you use lotions, they're going to find its way onto the fingerboard. Okay, and it can make playing very slippery. Okay, you don't want that to happen. Also, clear off your strings. When we're always playing, going back and forth with the bow, rosin buildup. Okay, so you want to have another rag, a rag that you use to clean the strings. Okay, clean the strings, and you can use that same rag to clean the body of the instrument. Okay, it's very important. If you don't do these things, you will eventually have to have this professionally done. See, these are the little things that you can do to keep your spending of money on your instrument down, and yet keep the value up. Okay, so those are some things that I would do. Another thing, keep your instrument in a climate controlled or humidity controlled place. Having excess humidity or excess temperature, that could really ruin an instrument. Okay, so as far as humidity is concerned, because that's a little bit more difficult to monitor, I would say maybe 50-60% humidity. It depends on what your instrument likes. If you have too much humidity, you can put sponges inside of your instrument that are attached to pieces of twine or rope, tiny rope. Hang them inside the F-holes so it can take away quite a bit of the excess humidity. Or if you're in a place where the humidity is not enough, there are these things called dampits, where you can buy them from any music store, and they're basically sponges within rubber tubes that you wet, and you have to be careful. You wet them, and then you squeeze out all the excess water, because you don't want dripping inside the instrument that causes water damage. And you put them inside your instrument and it slowly disperses humidity. So it also keeps your instrument very healthy. Now let me go back to appealing to everybody, okay? These next couple of tips, you would think that, I don't know, not a big deal, but I've seen so many horror stories with these next few topics I want to talk about. This topic, changing your strings. Now personally, I change my strings about once a year, okay? If you don't do that, you run the risk of your strings losing the ability to keep their pitch, okay? I've seen and heard of people having strings on their instruments for 5 years up to 10 years. The strings go false. They vibrate other than what they're supposed to vibrate, okay? Don't do it. Change your strings regularly. The smaller instruments like the cello and violin and viola, they may have to change your strings more often, okay? You know, to maintain wonderful sound. The next thing that you can do is get your bow rehaired regularly. Another horror story. Now, for me, I get my bows rehaired every 4 to 6 weeks. Now, some people may think, oh, that's excessive. I'm used to a particular sound. I'm used to a particular type of performance. Okay, the fresher your hair is, the better your attacks are, the less work you have to do, you know, as far as expressing yourself on the instrument, okay? Again, I've seen people go 3 years, 5 years, and not get their bow rehaired. Let me talk a little bit about the hair. Hair is not exactly smooth. If you look at it underneath a microscope, it has ridges or barbs, okay? When you rosin the bow, on fresh hair, rosin gets caught in these barbs, and just enough too, okay? So now when we play, we have a nice sound. When the hair is too old, okay, that means that maybe there's either too much old rosin there, or those burrs or ridges have now disappeared from wear and tear. Hair doesn't last forever, okay? The state and the strength and the integrity of bow hair does not last for a long time, okay? So you have to get that changed. I would say at a minimum for double bass, minimum, I'd say 4 times a year, every quarter. If you're practicing a lot, I would say twice that, okay? Like I said, I like a particular type of performance in my equipment. That's just me, you know. So another thing, don't handle your rosin or your bow hair with dirty hands. Okay, we touch all kinds of things, okay? Again, personally, I wash my hands before I touch my my rosin, okay? I don't mess around with that, because I know that, you know, we produce sweat, we produce oils. It's natural, we're human beings, okay? We also touch things. So when we touch our rosin, all the stuff that we've touched gets on the rosin. What's on the rosin gets on the bow hair. And that can affect how the hair reacts to the string. Okay? So, I'm sorry, but I'm crazy. You know, I wash my hands before I touch my rosin. That's just the way I am. But again, that's because I want a particular performance. I want a particular sound that I'm looking for. Okay? The last thing I want to talk about, I think it's very important that people don't realize. Monitor the health of your rosin. People don't realize and understand that one, rosin comes from a tree, resin, okay? The tree provides all the moisture for this, but once we extract it and use it for what we need it to do for us as string instrumentalists, that supply of moisture is no longer supplied by the tree. Okay? We can get into situations and climates and, you know, all that sort of thing, whereas it can be really dry, and rosin can dry out. Okay? So what I do personally, I use a little Ziploc bag. I put my rosin in, it stays in the case, put it in the bag. I put a damp, not wet, but damp paper towel or a cloth in there. And when it's really dry outside, or it's that particular time of year, my rosin is being fed humidity, moisture, and it keeps the rosin alive for much, much longer, okay? So the bottom line to all of this is, if you take care of your instrument, it will take care of you, okay? So thank you very much for coming to my channel. Please like, subscribe, and comment, as this will help people with their issues solve them, and it will help spread the word, okay? So again, I'm Dr. Bass. I hope you've gotten my gist. Class is now dismissed.